Hi, very good evening. It's Gene from Afstar. I thought I would surface and do a video for you guys because it'd been like 5 or 6 days, just to let you know I'm still in the game. But you know what? More and more now, I'm losing the enthusiasm to do these videos because just look what's going on in the world. It's almost, you couldn't have predicted this 2 years in advance that this would be the way it is now. You know, I want to go back to the 80s, 90s. I loved that time. And, you know, I often say I've been following politics. I know, you know, I'm not an expert in politics. I get a general drift. You know, I would like to think I'm a reasonable, intelligent person who can, you know, equate 2 and 2 to be 4. But what we're seeing right now is just odd. It's odd. You know what? It's laughable. But on the understanding, and this is the problem with me, I think deep as well. You know, on the understanding of everything else that's going wrong, you know, with what's happening with Donald Trump right now and his outbursts, that I find hilarious. But what I don't find hilarious is 10 of the worst performing states in the United America right now. And, you know, I cringe when he goes on about making Canada the 51st state. And maybe that's a joke to Donald Trump. But, you know, he is certainly getting some mileage out of that joke. And, you know, people think, well, maybe he's not joking. Oh, but, you know, we're looking at Tesla stocks. So what I wanted to show people is, at the moment, right, if you brought Tesla stock, say, in the 25th of October 24 and compared it to now, you're not that much out of pocket. Forget this mountain that developed, because this is the mountain during Donald Trump's winning the elections and coming to power. And of course, you know, the novelty's going to wear off a little bit. And, you know, people are knocking the stocks at the moment, but I don't think, you know, losing that little bit of change in between 236 and then going back to, you know, October 24, you know, 269 is a big deal. But we could throw up a couple of questions, and we're going to put them out there. Is Elon buying his own stocks back? Because that is a big avalanche of a dip. But then it was a big raise to the peak, weren't it? So is this, you know, just the Donald Trump winning the election period and, you know, endorsing Tesla and all his products, you know, Elon Musk's products? I don't know. You know, with what I see on the news, it looks bad. It really does. You know, we're seeing cars, Tesla cars being burned out, scratched, tyres popped, just because people own them. But you know what? People are busting tyres on working class people that are just trying to make their ends meet. Just trying to fit in. Move with technology. And, you know, participate. And I get it. You know what? Like me, you know, I've had to rethink my whole entire model now. We're using AI to write the Stinky Cat stories, which are going to be ebooks at some point on, you know, many publishers' websites. But not only that, we've got the laser beam lights messages out into space. We've got the we're covering, more than anything else, we're covering the magnetic North Pole migration, which, you know what gets me here, guys? Can you understand this? We are going through, if it is classed on an excursion event, the first time in 12,000 years event, where the magnetic pole might go through a migration. If we are talking about a completed reversal, that magnetic pole went through that 780,000 years ago. Them are big numbers. And right now, the money is not being funneled into the technology of researching what is going on with our magnetosphere, which is our protective shield, which is weakening right now. It's going into sending £4 billion from the American taxpayer's pocket to Israel's missile defence. We are wasting trillions, and I'm not kidding now by using that, trillions of money on the wrong thing. Because right now, hundreds of thousands of people in America are literally petrified of the fact of the cost of living crisis. And Donald Trump may have reduced the price of eggs this week, but you know what? Let's put it this way. You know, what is the least Donald Trump could have done for the American people but, reduce the price of eggs? And I get it. You know what? 50% of Americans are supportive of Donald Trump, what he's doing. Look, we all want to cut corruption. We all want to do that. You know what? You've got corruption in your community, in your family. It's bad news for you because, the burden comes back. But what is going on right now is just wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. I've never seen politics dive to an all-time such a low as what we have got right now. Keir Starmer. I'm not going to talk about Trump all the time. You know what? I'm English. I'll talk about Keir Starmer. You want to talk about Keir Starmer? He took the heating allowance off the pensioners, the most vulnerable, those people, those guys that put in all their life to the UK government, paid their taxes, and he took the heating allowance off them because they were struggling to pay for the heating. Do you know what he's just done there? Him and his ministers. I could name her. And she knows who she is. And she should be totally ashamed of herself. But they're taking the pips off the disability. So they've attacked the pensioners and now the disability people. Can you believe that? This is a government that we've got in the UK that is hell-bent on going after the weaklings, cowards, chicken shits. They're the ones that won't go to the, put Keir Starmer in Ukraine right now. You want to fucking support them? Then why don't you and your wife pack your bags with your kids and go over there now, take up arms and fight on the front line? If not, clearly, go fuck yourselves. And that's a quote from Elon Musk, isn't it? But, that's how I feel now. I'm just maximising, and I advise you guys to do this. Maximise everything you can do right now to better yourselves. Because we've got to use AI. I'm using for my Tinky ebook stories, AI to write the story. Pretty much, I'm giving it just all the bullet points it needs, and I'm saying do it, and it's doing it. And then I'm giving it all the bullet points to say do the images. Not doing it to the exact way I want. I might have to employ someone to do the images for me, but I don't mind doing that because. You know what, from the response I've got from people that have read some of these short stories, they've loved them. I'm not promoting my books because I'm not going to tell you where you can buy them anyhow. But He's a cheeky character. He's got a love for gold, and he discovered the love for gold when he found that unusual weight of something in his paw. And from that point on, he'd become cunning and crafty and wanted to find lots of other reasons to earn money. I know you're probably thinking, what the fuck, Gene, has happened to you? You're turning over a new leaf we never even knew existed in you. But you know what? I've always said the tinky stories in my mind that I should do them, and I'm just going to do them now. Well, we've nearly writ the first tale of Tinky, and we're just going to continue them. And the thing is, I'm going to put them out there for nothing really. You know what? I don't mind the lowest fee that the publishers will charge, for the book. I don't mind that, because I know it's going to put a smile on some people's faces, some of the things that character gets up to. So that's what we're doing. And we've got also over the next few months, you know what, guys, I'm a scientist. I can write programs. I can use electronics in ways that you just wouldn't ever imagine. The last project we had was the pulse thermostat for radiators, because your central heating system right now in your house doesn't run efficiently because of where the main thermostat in the house is placed. If it was me, I would say have 6 of these thermostats all over your house, so that you get an average mean temperature, and therefore you'll cut your bills by probably 30-40%, which is a big saving. But I am now on a course going through the procedures of becoming a class 1 driver. And for you guys in the American world over the pond, that is a semi driver. I don't mind. You know what? And I won't be the first and last scientist that drives a truck for a living, because I know it pays reasonable money, it's reliable, I've got a job waiting for me already as soon as I get my licence, and I don't mind. I will tell you about a guy that won the Nobel Prize. In fact, he shared the Nobel Prize with another guy as well in a specific area. And you know what he does? Drives people's luggage to the airport along with them in a coach. And he's happy to do that. And I'll tell you why he's happy to do that, because he's sick of the bureaucratic nonsense that you have to go through. You have to suck arseholes of these politicians to get grants, to fund your research. When your research becomes popular, you get some arsehole undercut you out of the market. And we're just sick of it. And you know what I see right now? A degradation of the West. We have definitely hit that crucial point where we have tipped over. That point where we are steaming down now. And I'm lucky, guys. I wake up and I think to myself, you know what? There is no way I can complain about my life tomorrow. But I know that there are people much, much worse than me, and I'm talking millions of people much, much worse than me right now that are suffering. And I really feel sorry for them, because they've been sold out. And you know it. You've seen us sell out all our manufacturing. I mean, the UK. Let's just talk about the UK. We were the first kids on the block. We built the Industrial Revolution. Everything came from this country years ago. We've got a history over 2,000 years, going right back to Jesus Christ. America, well, they've got like 200 years history. They've did really well for themselves. You know, they've developed, you know, an economic empire that generates, you know, 28 trillion a year, compared to us crocodiles here in the UK that generate, you know, just barely, if we're lucky, 4 trillion. But that 4 trillion is still enough to be more richer than countries like Russia. You know, when you consider what we've got, you know, I'm delving into lots of different things here, guys, so you just have to bear with me, because that's, you know, I do that. You know, I flip from one thing. They call me a kangaroo scientist because I just jump from one thing to the next. So, you know, if you look at what Russia generates in GDP compared to the UK, we're richer than them. And quite clearly we are. We've got 2 aircraft carriers. Russia has 1 broken aircraft carrier that don't work. We've got nuclear missiles, just like Russia have. We've got enough nuclear missiles to take out any designated country in this world if we wanted. So we've gone through, you know, the pain threshold of time to get where we are. And you know what I like about the crocodile analogy is that creature, and you can look this up, hasn't evolved for millions of years. It stayed the same. Maybe it got it right first off. Maybe it didn't need to evolve. That thing can go underwater for months and months and not eat a single meal. That's a survivor. And I think that's the English spirit. You know, we are crocodiles. We've been around a very long time. You know, the Christian religion is over 2,000 years old now. And we fought the Romans that put, you know, Jesus Christ on the cross. If you don't really want to go into religion that much, but, you know, we did. We fought the Vikings. We've just had one of the most bloodiest histories. Let me tell you something. If you want to go and see something that will shock you, go to Bosworth Battlefield. It's a museum now. They've got a museum there, but there's a particular plaque on the wall that really does drum it back home to us about what we're all about here in the UK. We have been through so many wars. There has not been another country, I don't think, in this world that has suffered as much blood loss as the UK in the whole of history. Go and check out that plaque that shows you every war that the UK, or Google it, see how many wars we've been in over our history. And you know, I think we do, all of us here in the UK, you know, the British carry it with us through generation to generation. I think, like, you know, the horse can stand up straight away when it's born. You know, the new foal gets straight up on its feet. You know, just like us, we developed that instinct of war, and we know what it's all about, and we know what it's like to survive. And we, you know, some of us are hardened to it, and there will be always somebody that is not. These roll-up cigarettes are annoying. And that's another thing as well. You know what? One of the only enjoyments I have is a roll-up and maybe a glass of wine occasionally. Is that too much to ask in this world? When you got billionaires flying around on their jets and their £100 million yachts, and yet the tax on this stuff is just a piss take. You know, I am going to give up smoking, and I know in the comment section everyone's going to say, yeah, you really need to do that, Gene. Stop smoking. But you know, if it's your only enjoyment, then what? I just saw an hilarious clip on YouTube from a guy that regularly comments on Elon Musk's events, and you can see Elon Musk sitting there playing on his video games. What the fuck? A grown man playing video games. And that might upset a few of you guys out there that play your video games. You know, carry on, do it. But I just think it's a bit strange that you, being a grown man, are still interested in video games. But then you could put that back on me by saying, you know what are you doing? Still playing with little toys, Gene? You know, your quadcopters and your your RC planes and things like that. But I just think it's strange that someone that is connected so close to the Donald Trump, I mean, we're all allowed to be a little bit eccentric, but you know, this guy has now started to, I believe, cut the education fund in America. You know, and just like the Keir Starmers, you know, cutting the welfare of veterans. Is that how we treat people nowadays? Really, have we got there? It's so sad that this time that we're living in, and I've really got to say this. You know what? I'm okay. You know what? I've got probably, you know, 100. No, not 100 days. Maybe I could probably go a year with the food supply I've got, and I will be increasing that now, knowing what I know. And the reason I'm going to do that is because we ain't going to improve from this point out in the West. This is a broken empire, just like the Roman Empire, just like the Egyptian Empire, just like the Sumerian Empire. You know what? No lessons are being learned. These people are in it for now. They take it, you know, all the money out of the system. There's massive fraud going on right now across the range, and it's ridiculous. You know, have you seen, guys, you know I am a petitioner about CO2 causing climate change. It does not cause climate change, but have you seen what Donald Trump's just done? Drill, baby, drill. Let's get that crude oil out. And what's going to happen with the crude oil? It's going to be burned, isn't it? So CO2 is going into the atmosphere. Yet the previous administrations have been totally against all that. Coming up with their excuses, oh, this island's sinking. Well, maybe it's sinking because it's on a subduction zone on a tectonic plate. Did you ever look into that fact? Eh? Or, you know, sea levels are rising, but where are you measuring them at? At the equator. Of course, the sea level's going to be higher at the equator than in the northern hemisphere. They think we are totally and completely stupid, you know that? Anyhow, guys, I really believe I've taken a lot of your time, and I know some of you like to listen to me have a little ramble, but I just think it's sad what's going on right now. Politics is getting driven through the mud. You just don't say that to your neighbour country. I'm going to make you the 51st state. You know, you are a nasty people that I have to deal with. Are we dealing with like kindergarten politicians now, like Donald Trump, who can't articulate a conversation without insulting somebody in the manner at which he does. Well, you know what, if you want to help support what we do, and you know what, we don't get nothing off the government, you know, they'd rather spend it on Starstreak missiles and ATACMS, and you know, Houthis are winning the war at the moment. They have genetically modified a camel to have 3 humps, and that gives it stability in the fact that it can outrun lots of technology like Starstreak and ATACMS missiles. It can literally outrun those things. We are living in the twilight zone right now. Guys, link down there if you want to help support. As always, love you lots. Bye for now.